Welcome everyone to the 14th episode of the Science and Healthcare Sustainability Podcast. We're absolutely delighted today to have both John and Colin from two very relevant businesses and two exciting product ranges. So before we do that, Alex, do you want to kick us off with the standard question?
Hi John, hi Colin, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Absolute pleasure to have you here. First question which I ask every single time, what is sustainability to you? Colin, if you want to take us away.
Sustainability means meeting our own needs without compromising the ability for future generations to meet their own needs. Our sustainability focuses on reducing the environmental impact from damaging cleaning chemicals and disinfectants. We also look at trying to reduce the use of single-use plastics wherever possible and provide safer, less damaging disinfectant and cleaning products that are far more sustainable.
Thanks, Colin. John, your businesses operate globally. Do you have a sort of understanding of the problem globally in terms of sustainability? We feel like we're doing quite a good job in the UK of being sustainable, but you've obviously travelled to the furthest reaches of the world. How severe is the problem in your mind?
Well, it goes back, sustainability goes back to all the points that Colin's just mentioned, but it applies to all countries that might well take our products. So, for example, I actually think that Hygieia-San is the essence of sustainability. People often talk about it, but from our point of view, we've got a situation where we manufacture a product using resources and chemicals that are easily available, salt, water, and energy. But on top of that, we can actually do that in any country of the world. So sustainability applies to any country where they've got those three things. And most people have. I can't think of a country that doesn't have salt, water, and energy. And you can actually make your own disinfectants and sanitizers anywhere in the world where you have access to those three things. So I think we're the essence of sustainability because we can move directly to the customer and they can then make it for themselves should they wish.
Yeah, excellent. So John, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and why you do it.
Okay. What I do is I've always been involved in innovation right across different industries, but I've been involved in the healthcare industry for about 20 years. And during that time, that industry has changed significantly. And I've moved with the times, and the team's moved with the times. So we've gone from perhaps traditional chemicals that we all know through to the kind of products that we're talking about today. So from my point of view, I've always looked at innovation through either market need, legislation, and then finally customer need. And what we're finding today is that customers are actually looking very closely at their environmental impact, how they take on new products. And really our only problem has ever been is education, explaining to people what products do. Once they understand what our products do, they want to buy it. And that's how we do it. We have to educate people and take some time. Podcasts are obviously very useful, but also providing information in a format which is 21st century media. So trying to get across everything about the product before people make a preconceived idea. So that's what I do, but I do it around the world. I do it with big organizations. I've worked with the United Nations. I've worked with large corporations and governments introducing our range of products.
Yeah, fascinating. Thanks, John. Colin, you're CTO of Hygieia-San and Vectorcide, two products that we're going to be talking about. Specifically on Hygieia-San, how does that work? What is it, and what does it actually do in its mechanisms of action?
That's a good question. So Hygieia-San is a high-performance disinfectant, typically achieving up to 99.9999% efficacy against all forms of microorganisms, including bacteria, viruses, fungi, mycobacteria, and spores. But it has some key differences to other disinfectants available on the market. One, it's just made from salt and water, as John mentioned earlier. which is then be subjected to electrical charge, creating a product called hypochlorous acid, which, despite its name, is a neutral, non-corrosive disinfectant. So it's a neutral pH. It's also known as electrochemically activated water. Another difference really for Hygieia-San over conventional cleaners is that it kills much quicker. Eradicates all microorganisms that it reaches, and due to its ability to penetrate cell membrane walls and destroy DNA and RNA, it has been proven to outperform most of the disinfectants commonly used in even the medical arena. It's also a very price competitive product, taking us into the realm of tackling commonly used products like chlorine and similar cheaper end products by maintaining a much higher efficacy and improving a company or people's biosecurity.
Really interesting product. It's definitely got its place within healthcare and laboratories. The other interesting product that you work on is Vectorcide, which is a paint or a coating which has an insecticide microencapsulated into it. So it kills mosquitoes on contact with the painted surface, which is excellent. John, have you got any plans for other sustainable products, or what's the future looking like for Vectorcide and Hygieia-San in your view?
Oh, yes, indeed, we do, because it's our technology that makes the difference. So because we have, in the case of Vectorcide, a unique technology working with our coating, we have the opportunity to introduce that technology into other types of products. There are, as you know, two lead products at the moment. The original Vectorcide, which has the lethality agent in it, but at a very, very, very low dose, which wouldn't affect anyone, the environment, but the only thing that will affect, it will kill the female mosquito. But then on the other side, we have a new product, which is Vectorcide Shield, which is the repellent product. That's being very well received. Again, there's some education requirements, but that will allow us to really operate in all countries of the world, either with Shield or with the original Protect, or with both. So those two products are out there now. We have a performance product, which is for the extraction and mining industries. But then we have other products coming down the line, which we'll be introducing fairly soon, and they will be ideal for our current distributor base and customer base. So there's going to be a broad spread, big avenue of opportunity for anybody who works with Vectorcide and indeed Hygieia-San, because they'll be able to market and sell and merchandise products that have this high performance, that don't cause harm to the environment or man or beast, but do exactly what they say they do on the tin. And, you know, there's one thing that I think we should always remember about our products is the effect on the environment that other products have. You know, you've got a big build-up of volatile organic compounds all the time, and we're the opposite. So when we actually use our products, we're actually subtracting from the environment. We're actually adding a benefit to the environment because we're not allowing the use of any toxic products, whereas obviously there are plenty of toxic products out there.
Yeah, great answer, John. Colin, I come back to you from a technical standpoint. It's very clear to me that Hygieia-San is environmentally friendly, and that it can be put down the sink, it's biodegradable, it's not harmful to the environment, so really easy to understand. From Vectorcide point of view, could you perhaps detail the mode of action there and how that compares to more harmful products that are used that John alluded to then?
Yeah, I think we need to look at the scale of the problem. There's anywhere up to 500,000 people a year are affected by vector-borne disease, and that's now changing around the world, where dengue is now becoming a problem in countries that it wasn't evident before. So we've looked at the product to make sure that we've created a future-proof product that can meet all circumstances based on the evolution of the mosquito. So the technology is very different, and what we do disclose is that the coating, which is very much like an emulsion paint, is applied to a surface, and within it, sitting below the surface, is a large number of microcapsules. which contain not only our active ingredient, which with Vectorcide Protect is actually an insecticide, and with Vectorcide Shield, it's actually a form of citronella, paramethanediol. And these are allowed to break only when a mosquito's spiky piercing legs pierce the capsule when it's trampling across the surface. When it does that, a number of ingredients are exposed. They flow over the mosquito and penetrate right through to its central nervous system and its vital organs. That method of application or mode of action is far more effective than standard pickup from insecticides on a surface, and is safe enclosed inside a sealed coating or paint, not exposing the insecticide to the environment or to people or humans. But even so, there is such a little amount of it in there that it's totally safe. But where it is effective is that we've had to overcome resistance found in mosquitoes. And that's part of our new technology, that we include a ingredient, it's known as PBO, which is a synergist, which overcomes the blocking agents or the enzymes or the resistance found in mosquitoes. So Vectorcide is a highly effective product that overcomes mosquito's resistance, delivering a lethal dose to the mosquito and becoming highly effective.
When I think of mosquito treatment, I think of men in or women in hazmat suits spraying fields and lakes, and it doesn't look particularly environmentally friendly. But your product is applied inside the home to the walls where people are more likely to be bitten, and it is only released, if I'm right from what you're saying, it's only released once the mosquito lands on the wall. So it's actually highly targeted as well. Do you have a grip on the environmental impact of spraying those kind of things? Does it kill everything? Bees at risk from that kind of, and pollinators at risk?
The product is actually manufactured in a way that it is smaller insects that can break the capsules, particularly a mosquito's spiky legs. A bee could be affected, but it wouldn't be sufficient to kill bees. But it is an indoor product used inside homes, commercial buildings, offices, to protect people from being bitten by mosquitoes. The mosquito will like the surface of Vectorcide, which, as I mentioned before, goes on the wall just like an emulsion paint. There's no smell, no toxicity. So it is made for mosquitoes and not other target insects. So the effect on things like bees and pollinators is minimal because they don't normally enter your home, and they wouldn't be affected even on the surface. It may affect them slightly, but it won't kill them.
But the spraying doesn't discriminate, does it? The spraying is sort of like taking an atom bomb to the environment, really.
Yes, spraying is an open technology that is used on foliage as well, and particularly on crops, which then does allow bees to be targeted and other pollinators. So our product is made specifically for one job only, and that is to protect people from mosquitoes.
It's quite a big thing at the moment. Kind of vector-borne diseases, malaria, dengue, and the like. So it's quite clear that it's a no-brainer in terms of protecting against that. Are you saying there's zero impact on the environment of Vectorcide paint? It literally doesn't give anything off that's environmentally harmful?
Yes, that's the case. So although Vectorcide Protect contains an insecticide, we use a very low dosage, typically less than 0.5% compared with other products that use a much higher percentage in open format spraying. It's sealed in a capsule. It's sealed underneath the paint. It's only broken by the mosquito. And the technology and the mode of action ensure that it is delivered onto the mosquito, not into the environment. However, if there was a huge area broken of these capsules, it still wouldn't have any damaging effect on human health within a room. And of course, it doesn't enter the environment or the water system or the soil in any way, because it's an indoor coating that is sealed.
Yeah, I think there's additional environmental benefits to Vectorcide as well, in that, you know, when you do picture spraying, it is someone in a hazmat suit in PPE who's had to travel there because they're the specialist. So your product can actually be applied in the home by the homeowner with, you know, probably some gloves to protect, you know, from getting paint on the hands rather than actually from protecting them from the product. So you're saving a huge amount of PPE and all that travel, and your product can be shipped sort of globally quite efficiently by ship. So yeah, I think there's a lot of other environmental sort of benefits to the product aside from just the product itself. Um, John, just picking up on how did you start the business, and what was the biggest challenge in setting up such a sort of high tech product range?
Yeah, it is always a challenge, obviously, when you're setting up anything that is innovation. People are used to what they know. That applies to sanitizing, and it applies to dealing with mosquitoes. If we look at Vectorcide, it actually started in terms of its real carnation back in 2015, which is when we started the whole program of testing and evaluation. So when you bring a product in, a new product, you actually have to perform better than anything that's out there. The reason for that is everybody's used to what they've been using. Colin's already mentioned, I think we've all mentioned the spraying, so everybody was used to spraying. And because it's a grandfathered product and been around for a long time, people don't challenge it. But they are challenging it now because it doesn't work. I'm being quite candid about that. It doesn't work because, as Colin's just said, over 500,000, 500,000 people, in fact, it's more, 700,000 people are notified of dying from a mosquito disease, let alone the ones that aren't notified. So when you go into a new market, you've actually got to say to yourself, what are the things that people are going to be genuinely concerned about? Now, in the 10 years that we've developed this product, with the help of the London School of Hygiene, with the equivalent in Thailand, in Southeast Asia, in Brazil, in the Caribbean, in the Dominican Republic, when we've worked with all of those people, they've given us obviously accreditations, testimonials, proof that it works in the real world. But then you've got to get it out into the real world. And so in these 10 years, in fact, practically in the last 2 years, the demand to get it out into the real world is now far greater than I could have imagined, because people are aware now of mosquito disease. And you just mentioned, you know, malaria, dengue, chikungunya, Zika, sepsis. There's examples of people who actually lose limbs because they've been bitten by mosquitoes. So I'm not being alarmist, but these diseases are coming. Climate change has changed everything dramatically for all of us, for a whole range of things. But right now, climate change and disease is coming into southern Europe, into Spain, Italy, southern France, the Greek islands, and it's coming at a fast pace. Now, the most frightening element of all of this was that a few days ago, in one of the medical magazines, they'd identified that the mosquitoes will live throughout a season. So they'll go beyond their traditional season and live through the winter. Reason why? Because the climate's changed. So we're going to have an abundance of mosquitoes. So the start of our program was originally charity-based, where we had excellent results in Zambia with mud huts back in 2015. And then we've developed all the way through now to the commercial opportunity from the mining industry protecting workers and engineers through to hotels, homes, buildings, which now not just in where we thought where there was going to be the mosquito belt, but now that mosquito belt is moved further north and further south. So life's got easier, but it is difficult when you're innovating something because it's about education. In the case of Hygieia-San, in some ways, that's a lot easier to follow and to understand, because once people understand the principle of the fact that our product works better than anybody else's product and does it more quickly and does it efficiently and effectively without harm to you, then that comes across. And of course, people are buying sanitizers every day to do whatever they may want to do with those sanitizers. But with our product, we've got the Hygieia-San range, which can go from a ready to use to a concentrate, to a machine that you can make the product yourself if you've got a large enough organization. So those two innovations, I think Vectorcide gave me the grey hair. I think Hygieia-San's going to maybe grow my hair back. No, I said it. Only a joke. We'd sell a lot more if that.
But bringing the conversation back to sustainability in general, what's the most wasteful part of what you guys do? How do you mitigate it? What's kind of the most impactful changes that you've made within the businesses?
So one of the problems of the industry is the use of single-use plastic. So we've mentioned that Hygieia-San is a high-performance disinfectant. We do make it and we do sell it in containers for certain customers, particularly the smaller user. But when we look at plastic, globally, it really is a challenge. Over 400 million tons of plastic, I think, every year is produced. And 50% is single use, mainly packaging, bottles and utensils. I think from the figures I saw, there was only about 9% globally is recycled. And the rest is incinerated, causing air pollution, landfill, which obviously goes into the groundwater and the soil. Obviously, oceans and rivers get contaminated by it. And I think the projections show that by 2040, this could triple. So plastic is found everywhere, including in marine systems. So we looked at this carefully, and we came back to the fact that hypochlorous, Hygieia-San hypochlorous, is made simply from salt and water. So we have a range of machines to allow larger customers, from small commercial right up to full industrial and commercial processes, whether it's food processing or in healthcare or in agriculture or livestock, or even water treatment, where they can actually generate and make Hygieia-San hypochlorous using a machine that can be installed within their premises. All they need to do is have salt and water available, and it will create Hygieia-San high performance disinfectant. So we are reducing the use of single-use plastics by typically up to 80%. And in doing so, we're reducing the chemical costs of disinfectants and cleaners around about 60%. So going forward, we see the use of people making their own high-performance disinfectant, which will outperform other disinfectants, work very quickly, and kill all microorganisms, including non-envelope viruses, which are always typically difficult to kill. So we call them an ECA machine, and they can be made or suited to any size business.
Yeah, I think that's a really good sort of evolution of that product range. But also, you've brought in a concentrate as well. I think that's a game changer for a number of our customers. That they can go from 5 litres to make 100 litres. It's either a 20-to-1 dilution. So that's a real. I've never seen anyone else do that. So can you talk to us a bit about Lab 5000, your concentrated version?
Yes, one of the challenges in the marketplace is getting people to understand the product, and the other one is change. And sometimes cost is also something that has to be considered. So the Lab 5000 is a concentrated version of our hypochlorous. It can be diluted down to any dilution for any form of application. Typically, it now can be used in medical range areas to kill all microorganisms, which I referred to earlier, including viruses, spores, yeast, mold, fungicidal microorganisms. But it can actually be diluted down to 250 ppm. It starts at 5,000 ppm. We can dilute it down to 250 ppm, I should say, for medical grade disinfection, and for general disinfection down to as low as 100, 150 ppm. And just to qualify this, 250 ppm is 0.025%, compared with chemicals that are used in the medical arena, which would be 5% or more. So it's a highly effective product, highly cost effective, but doesn't lose efficacy when it's diluted down to 250 ppm.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks,
Well,
Colin. Yeah, it sounds like a really cost-effective solution that you have with Hygieia-San, particularly if you generate your own. I mean, just going back to Vectorcide, which is a really, well, seemingly high-end product, compared to your competitors. It seems levels above in terms of the delivery method and the technology that's gone into it. Presumably that makes it more costly than other methods. How does it compare on price?
oh well, price is always a comparison about performance, as well as obviously the actual price of the product. We're cheaper because the product lasts longer, it's easier to apply, and the process of killing the mosquito is proven by all the laboratories and research establishments around the world. So if you take a typical domestic home, you can get a litre of Vectorcide coating or a 5-litre tub of Vectorcide coating. When you use that and when you apply that, you'll be protecting your people within the home, but also you'll be protecting yourself because you won't be using any toxic agents. And more importantly, the product's lifespan is far longer than IRS or anything else that you might consider using, or a plug-in. IRS typically will last 3 months before a reapplication. There are some other paint-style insecticide products which unfortunately do not perform to the same level as the Vectorcide product. So overall, as a cost-benefit comparison, we are far cheaper and far more effective. Obviously, prices vary in different locations with import tariffs, etc. But properly applied and easily applied, then we outperform on price as well as performance.
Brilliant. Many of the manufacturers we have on this podcast are sort of at the early stages of their product development because they're using plant-based materials or they're using something novel, and the economies of scale aren't there to bring the price down just yet. It's really refreshing to talk to a business that straight off the bat your product is more cost effective, shall we say, on both Hygieia-San and Vectorcide. And I think that's as you said, it's a big consideration is the buying cost, but also the ongoing cost. Does Hygieia-San have this kind of legacy effect, Colin? Does it, if you apply it today, will it still be working in a week's time? Is there any kind of cost comparison we can look at there as well in terms of longevity?
So the answer is no in one way, but yes in another. So it doesn't last more than 24 hours on the surface. It is a disinfectant, which competes with other disinfectants that work at that time and then become ineffective when they dry. Recent tests and study have shown that Hygieia-San, when applied to a surface in medical arena, killed all the microorganisms. It was a zero count when tested, but they remained a zero count throughout 24 hours. And the reason for that is total eradication. Hygieia-San disrupts the cell membrane wall. It actually doesn't carry an electric charge itself, so it penetrates the cell wall immediately, destroys the RNA, destroys the DNA, and there can be no replication of that microorganism to actually form and regrow on that surface within 24 hours. So it does have longevity for 24 hours, but that is more than a normal disinfectant may give you.
I see. So it's not the fact that the Hygieia-San is still staying on the surface and working, it's just that it's took the sort of log reduction right down to zero, so that the bacteria or the virus isn't there to replicate again. So it has longevity through its absolute killing as opposed to its sort of lingering around. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So where can people find out more about Vectorcide and Hygieia-San? Where should they be looking?
Well, in the case of Vectorcide, obviously we've got the standard access to media, so it's at vectorcide.com, vectorcide.com. And in the case of Hygieia-San, We've got obviously Hygieia-San.com, but we've also got other means and methods to find us. So
we'll link to them in the comments below.
Brilliant. Two fantastic products there that are tackling increasing problems. As Colin sort of mentioned, we've got this moving of mosquitoes into areas perhaps where we didn't see them carrying disease before, and we've got the potential of other pandemics coming in and what sound like inadequate cleaning products to deal with that. So yeah, two amazing products, and thank you so much both for your time to tell us all about them. Is there anyone else you'd recommend that we have on the podcast? Obviously you're very well connected in both those worlds. Is there anyone we should be talking to?
Well, we're obviously talking to a whole range of different people on a weekly, daily, hourly basis, and more appear all the time. A perfect example, actually, of an event that took place just a couple of weeks ago, when we were invited by the Zambian government, and Colin spoke about the Vectorcide product. I think, quite frankly, we can introduce and talk to governments, healthcare agencies, healthcare professionals right across the piece. And of course, they should all be invited to understand what Vectorcide and Hygieia-San can do. I'll just close on one thing, if I have a moment of time. If when people look at the Hygieia-San site, I think they'd be quite surprised that all the avenues and areas of business, commerce, healthcare, leisure are covered by one product in its different dilutable formats. Now, that is an answer to sustainability in its own right. You don't have to open a cupboard and find 20 different products all purporting to do 20 different things. Hygieia-San can do it all, providing you apply it in the dilutable requirement for the problem that you have. And in the case of Vectorcide, I think we touched on that, but just to explain a little bit more, Vectorcide is there as a permanent solution, a permanent for a year at least, or maybe longer, to the mosquito problem. The last thing you want is a mosquito living in your home. Now, back when Vectorcide was originated and invented, with a gentleman who's no longer with us, who was at the London School of Hygiene, who was behind working with us, Dr. Nigel Hill. He actually said that the most important factor about Vectorcide's performance in those early days, as we developed, was its ability to deal with resistance. And we've actually enhanced and improved that even further, as identified in the Dominican Republic. So, both of these products are great to work on because they're exciting and they actually do the job. And there's no sort of smoke and mirrors. It's all there to be exposed, and it's all been there, tested and accredited. The team's done very well, and we're really pleased with the progress we're now making.
Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. For anyone listening, like, subscribe. We've got more interesting guests coming up. Thank you, both of you, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Been a pleasure. Really interesting products.
Thank you for your time
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, very good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Science and healthcare.